Morning, student. Let us start our next chapter, chapter number 2, Principles of Management. In this video, I will discuss the contribution of management experts to popular management expert, that is F.W. Taylor and Henry Fayol, their contribution in the management field, and what are the features of the principles given by these scholars. So let us start with the definition of principle of management. It can be defined as a broad and general guidelines that serve as the basis for the managerial decision making and action. So whatever action is should be taken over by the manager, it is just a general guideline. As we have already discussed the nature of management, it is an art. So it depends upon the creativity of the manager how these guidelines are to be followed in various situations. As this the principle of management have been profound by various management experts over a period of time. Among them there are two main popular experts that is covered by the CBSE curriculum, that we have to discuss the principle given by F.W. Taylor, that is Frederick Winslow Taylor, and Henry Fayol. Both of them are related to the classical management theory. So the point that should be remembered that F.W. Taylor focused on increasing the efficiency of workers, how to increase the efficiency of workers and how the cost of productions can be minimized and optimum utilization of resources. That his focus was totally on workers' activities. By following a scientific approach, later on we will discuss the principles of F.W. Taylor and what techniques he has given to us that should be followed by the workers to increase the efficiency. Whereas Henry Fayol was suggested 14 administrative principles. His main focus was to increase the efficiency of the manager, that is to increase the managerial efficiency. To see both the experts having their specialized field, one focused on workers and another one focused on increasing the efficiency of the manager. Let us comparatively discuss the contributions or comparing the principles of both the expert. Let's just, you must know who are the famous scholars, who are the famous experts. This picture I am showing you, he is a Henry Fayol. His lifespan ranges 1841 to 1925, and second one, that is F.W. Taylor. He ranges from 1856 to 1915. So their contribution, their principles, their techniques we will discuss in details in our chapter 2. Now, you just, while comparing the principles given by these two experts, let us compare the principles given by both the scholars. Number of principles given by Henry Fayol are 14, and by F.W. Taylor he has given us 4 principles. Second, number of techniques. Henry Fayol has not given any techniques, but 5 techniques are given by F.W. Taylor. Name famous book, their principles published in the famous book named General and Industrial Management, and F.W. Taylor's book was Principles of Scientific Management. Expression, General Theory of Administration, and his expression was based on scientific management. Focus, Henry Phil focused on administrative developments by following different principles, means how to develop the managerial efficiency of manager. And F.W. Taylor's focus on eliminating wasteful movement and increasing productivity. As we have already discussed, that main focus on the workers. Famous that Henry Fayol is also known as father of general management, whereas F.W. Taylor known as father of scientific management. So these all are the differences between the Henry Fayol and F.W. Taylor. So these important things you must remember. Objective type questions can be asked about the book, about known as father, who are the known as father of general management, who are known as the father of scientific management, how many principles given. So these all are the some types of objective questions can be asked from this topic. Let us move to the next. What are the various features of principle of management that is applied in both of the principle of given by Henry Fayol as well as F.W. Taylor? That these are the general characteristics of principle of management. First principle of management is universal applicability. That means the principle of management are universal in nature. What does it mean? That it is applicable not only in business organization but in non-business organization also these principles are applicable. As we have already discussed, one of the nature of management that it is pervasive, means it is present everywhere. So these principles are applicable in business as well as non-business organization too. Now move to the second feature. It is a general guideline. Management principles are guidelines to action, but this principle do not provide ready-made solution for any problem, because these principles are not definite like principle of physics and chemistry. As we have already discussed, it is an art, it needs a creativity, it depends upon the situation, because all the principles are applicable on human, and what will be the reaction of human being, it is not definite. So it is not a ready made solution, it depends, its use depends upon the situation, and it is just a guideline, and it depends on your creativity how this principle should be applied in the problems. Next is formed by practice and experimentation. As we have already discussed, all the principles of management are developed only after deep and thorough research work. Proper observation and experiments are conducted before developing them. So whatever principle we will come across, it is not a job of single day. After lots of research and thorough observation, this principle is given as a guideline. If we will follow this principle, definitely we will achieve the goal of the organization. Fourth principle, nature of principle of management is flexibility. Management principles can be applied differently under different conditions according to the requirement of the organizations. As we have already discussed, one of the nature of management that it is a dynamic. Similarly, the principles are also dynamic. As and when there is a changes in the external force like political, economic and social changes takes place, new kinds of problems arises. So old principles are altered and new principles are profounded. Means principles are not rigid. As per the situations, it keeps on changing. They are not rigid. So we can say that principle of managements are flexible. Now the next feature, mainly behaviorable, means the management principles are directly concerned with the human behavior, and these principles insist on improving relationship between superiors, subordinates and all the other members of the organization. Means it is totally related to the behavior of human being, and what reaction or action is there, that is focused. Means what should be the relation with the superior, what should be the superior refers to the boss, subordinates means followers and the other members. So these principles are totally human behavior. With the human behaviors, what will be the reactions, so that is why it is not rigid, it is flexible. And the outcome also cannot be determined, that as we have already discussed that management is not a science, inexact science, because the individual reactions we cannot determine in advance. Now next feature, relationship between cause and effect. They specified that what the ultimate outcome will be if in a particular situation work is done in a particular manner. Although these principles cannot state perfectly absolute result because these are applied on human being. Suppose I am taking one example. In any organization, if there are more than one boss is there and they all are giving orders or instruction to a subordinate, this may lead to confuse the subordinate. In that case, what will be the effect? Or he may be confused, he may not do any work, or there may be a positive effect also, he may do the work of all the bosses. Means later on we will discuss the various principle of management. Suppose cause is, if work should be divided on the basis of capability, qualification and interest to the individual, that leads to specializations. Means cause is division of work, and what will be its ultimate effect? That leads to specialization on particular work. So every cause has its effect, may be positive, may be negative. So all the principles are having causes and its effect, that we will discuss in detail, the cause and effect of all the principles of management. But this is one of the nature of principle of management, that every principle has a cause as well as its effect too. Now the next nature of principle of management is contingent. Means the decision to implement the principle is taken according to the situation or circumstances, because they are affected by the situation or circumstances. So we say that it also signifies that management principles are not fixed or permanent. Means it time to time it's keep on changing, and its implementation is not necessary. It depends upon the situation whether it should be followed in the organization or not. So the principles of management are not fixed or permanent. So this is what we have discussed about the various nature of principle of management, it is pointed out in seven main points. First, the nature is universal applicability. Second, it is a general guideline. Third, it is formed by practice and experimentation. Fourth, all the principle of management are flexible, not rigid. Fifth, it is mainly behaviorable, means depends on behavior. It is applied on human being. And relationship between causes and effect, every cause has its effect, may be positive, may be negative. And the principle of management are not fixed or permanent, it depends upon the situation. It is not mandatory to follow the principle of management. So this is what we have discussed in this video. Later on in the next video, I will discuss about the 14 principle of Henry Phil one by one in details. So this is what about the topic that we have discussed. Thank you so much.